In episode number 258 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Wizard Magazine's return in 2017-2018. The fact that it's already in the 2000s and Wizard Magazine is returning, amazing.
We also have the latest characters coming to Injustice 2. Has this game not come out yet?
Oh, it's been out. This is the DLC.
Oh, where have I been?
Not playing Injustice 2. That's where you've been. Scorcese's solo Joker film. What the fuck? Who would have guessed this news?
Just let it happen.
No one would have. Well, we'll talk about that. Sure. Yeah.
We also have our review on Dark Knight's Metal #1.
All of this and more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. Reaching the very end of August, I'm Daniel.
And I am your Emperor Kelli.
Getting close to Halloween, apparently. Are the decorations going up yet?
Listen, yes. So, for those of you who know, we're in the Orlando area. We have Halloween Horror Nights starting on September 15th. 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
And Mickey's Not So Scary started last week.
It's Halloween. It's fucking Halloween in Florida.
It's Halloween everywhere. Where's the pumpkin spice everything? I'm just waiting for it.
The Starbucks not have the pumpkin spice up yet? We should ask Neil. Neil plays the Starbucks game, so he would know the answer.
Not yet. They usually wait till September to put up pumpkin spice. Doesn't matter. I can't enjoy it because your child hates coffee.
Have you tried decaffeinated coffee? Does that work on them?
It's the smell. I can't get past the smell of coffee. I'm sure I could have decaf coffee and stomach it, but again, it's an experience for me, and that experience is gone.
We've never been to Halloween Horror Nights for Universal. We have been to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween twice, is it, that we've been?
More than that, 3 or 4 times.
Okay, 3 or 4 times. It's a lot of fun. I think mainly we go because all the rides have short-ass wait times because they limit the attendance in the parks. So you can ride Space Mountain, you can ride the Haunted Mansion, which is usually what we do. Snow White's train ride, is that what it's called?
The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train?
Yes. Yeah. So that's the big one that I think during the Christmas party we went, and we rode that twice.
2 or 3
times.
Yeah.
And because during the year, it's like a fucking 2.5 hour wait. So we're like, yeah, we got to go now. We got to get on this. And it is an amazing ride. Excellent. I mean, it's not worth the 2.5 hour wait ride, but I can see why people do wait for that. What else do we go on? I guess just Haunted Mansion. Those are the big ones. Those are the main ones.
Yeah, that's pretty much all. We used to ride...
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, Pirates, yes. We used to ride Snow White's Spooky Forest or whatever. That's gone.
The old Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
No, Winnie the Pooh is the old Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Okay, gotcha.
But Snow White's Spooky Forest used to be there, and now it's Princess Fairy Tale Hall.
I'm personally looking forward to the Food and Wine Festival at Epcot.
Yes!
Anyone that's never been to Disney, Epcot is one of the parks that's not just the Magic Kingdom. Like, that's one of the misconceptions is that it's just the Castle Park, and that is it. There are actually, 5 different parks for Disney?
4 parks.
4 different parks, and one of them is Epcot, which stands for the Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow, and it is essentially a futuristic park, something that Walt Disney originally envisioned as actually a private community where people would go from that park or from that community and then take the monorail out to the parks, and then they would work at the park. So this was actually never intended to be a theme park. After he passed away, they kind of took some of his ideas and implemented it into this park.
How can we make more money?
Pretty much. And then they put in the World Showcase, which I don't believe was a part of his original plan. So they merged both things together, where it was the part of Future World where you have like the future tech and the rides, the educational rides, and then they put on the World Showcase, which is my favorite part of the ride or the park, where you go and you drink around the world or you eat around the world.
Okay, or you go and experience different cultures from around the world.
I am experiencing them through alcohol.
Through alcohol.
And through food, because the Food and Wine Festival is one of my favorite times of the year. And it is at the time when I can, broaden my horizon, try different things and be drunk by a quarter of the way through.
So all throughout the year, I believe there's 8 or 9 different countries around the World Showcase. It's 1.5 miles all the way around. Mm-hmm. And those countries are there all the time with different places where you can get foods and beverages.
From those countries,
Yeah. But then for the Food and Wine Festival, they bring in like little freestanding kiosks.
Stations,
yes. And I believe there's like 37 of them or something, which represent a shit ton more places around the world. So, for example, two that they've added this year are India and Spain. And those aren't actual countries that they have around there, but they will be serving food from those places in those marketplaces. It's really cool.
It's a great time. I like going at least, 2 or 3 times every year. I'm not sure when it ends this year, but it does begin next Thursday. So I'm really excited. That's on the 31st. So that's something that, Floridians, we could either go to Halloween Horror Nights, we can go to Mickey's Not So Scary, or, if you don't want to go to the Halloween themed stuff, you can go to Epcot and drink around the world, which is such a fun time. I always have an amazing, you're spending a lot, but it's once a year for 2 months?
Well, you enjoy all your drinks from around the world. I will live through you.
You'll have the food. You can have some of the food.
I don't want any of that food.
You don't want any of the Food and Wine food?
No,
none of it?
No, none of it. I wanted my vegan Korean barbecue. It's gone. Poof, there it goes.
Well, maybe they'll have like a substitute to it.
We'll see. I'll get a dessert something, I'm sure. I haven't looked through all the menus yet. Is there a cheese plate? I like my cheese plates.
I'm sure there is. They always have the cheese plate every single year.
Pumpkin chai milkshake. I'll take a pumpkin
chai
milkshake.
Yeah, sounds really good.
Oof.
If we do end up going to Epcot's Food and Wine, you can bet we'll take pictures. We may even stream a video. I'm still playing around with the Twitter video stream, maybe even Facebook, and go from there. It's something that I've always wanted to expand on because it's not something that we've ever done. We've never done like a live anything. We've done the videos for YouTube. We've, produced them. We've, spiced them up with different slides and different angles of the different shots and cuts. But we've never actually sat down and, done like a Q&A or even just a stream of us being at the parks, for example. So maybe that's something we'll expand on. I definitely wanted to do a live stream on Twitter the other night where, I'm like, you know what? I got like an hour to kill. Maybe I'll go online and see if anyone's on Twitter and, ask some questions, interact. We'll just have fun. So, if you don't want to see that, definitely reach out to us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke and at Kelli, and we'll look into, what we can do on that end.
Before we jump into our news this week, we did mention last week about the Podcast Awards. We were nominated for Games and Hobbies. So once again, huge thank you to everyone who nominated, all of our listeners who reached out and said, yes, you should listen to this podcast because they're the best.
The listeners did their part. Like, holy shit, man. They went on there, they nominated us, and they said, here you go, Daniel and Kelli. It's finished. It is complete.
It became God. It is finished.
And they handed it right over to the the Reasons I'm Broke, right in their hand, and said, here you go, Podcast Awards voters and panel. This is the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Throw them in Games and Hobbies. Vote, listen, allow them to win. I don't know what the broadcast said, but they did everything they needed to do. They fucking did it. They came out in droves. And once again, this is why we have the best fans out there. If they opened this up to just fans, the Brokehead core would have overrun the podcast awards. It would have been done. But, it's a panel. It legitimizes the shows and they have to listen to the quality of them and then kind of go from there. So I still give all credit though to listeners because they came out and they supported the show. And because of that, they are listening to the Reasons I'm Broke, the 2017 Podcast Awards nominated podcast. So this is always going to be that Podcast Awards nominee for all time. If we win, that's even better. But if we don't, this is a great thing. This is something that the listeners and all of us accomplished. So really happy with that. They're going to announce the winners live on September 30th. So we're going to keep, letting you guys know and reminding you every single week. Don't forget to follow the Podcast Awards on Twitter at Podcast Awards. And, if you want to show your support, great. Tag us, tag at Podcast Awards. But aside from that, it is all in the hands of the voters and the panel. So if you're the panel right now listening, I hope you enjoy the show. And if you're the rest of the Brokettes, I do hope you enjoy 258 as well.
And if you're a broquette who knows anybody on the panel and you want to pull some strings.
And with that, we can jump in. Oh, wait, we've got hashtag games this week.
Hashtag games.
Hashtag games. Let's cue the theme song.
I like my theme song better. Can I just sing all the theme songs from now on?
I think you've tried that in the past.
And you just haven't given me enough of a chance. You just, all right, Kelly, sounds great.
The hashtag game this week is hashtag I'm not a millionaire because, and my entry was, my paycheck goes right back into my local comic shop.
I'm not a millionaire because I'm an adult and I have bills.
That's boring, Kelly.
I don't.
That's boring.
What do I buy?
That's not a hashtag
What
game.
do I buy?
Cheerios. You buy a ton of Cheerios.
Yeah, bills, like groceries.
But you make it fun. You know, Cheerios. Because Cheerios. That's way better than bills and groceries. Get specific. Baron Pizza. Red Baron Pizza.
I did buy that.
A Domino's pizza?
I do buy a lot of ice cream.
What kind of ice cream?
Whatever I'm craving at the moment.
You don't have a brand? You don't have a go-to?
Right now, Chick-fil-A sweet tea is high on my list. I buy things for my dog.
So a cup of sugar, because that is Chick-fil-A sweet tea.
There is way more than it. Have I not ever told you how much sugar is in Chick-fil-A sweet tea?
I don't know if I want to know.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Because I worked at Chick-fil-A for a few years. Fun fact about Kelly. That's where I began my youth.
What is Chick-fil-A for everyone up north?
Oh, it is a chicken restaurant.
It is basically a higher-end McDonald's that doesn't serve any beef.
Only serves chicken.
Only serves chicken.
Yes. And they cook with peanut oil. And their French fries are fantastic.
They're pretty good. They're waffle fries.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Real good. Fun fact, I hated Chick-fil-A for years because I worked there for so many years and they fed you every time you worked. So I was sick of the food, I was sick of the smell, and I got pregnant, and now all I want are French fries and sweet tea from Chick-fil-A. That's all I want. I crave it all the time.
For a little while there, we got French fries and like a milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of our go-to about 5 years ago.
Ah, it was delicious. Anyway, so in every 12 liters of sweet tea...
Okay, about how much is that?
Hell if I know. You put the 12-liter bucket under there. It's like...
What is that? Like, about what size is that, though?
It's like this big.
What is that? They can't see this big. What is that, like a t-shirt size, or?
No, not even that big. It's really... It's... Hold on. You want me to translate it into cups?
No, I don't want... No, because I want like a... I don't know cups. I don't know liters. Listeners might not know. I want to know the size of this compared to an object.
It's like if you're shipping a package. I'm trying to think of what kind of package.
It's not helping. Okay, take a t-shirt and compare it to a t-shirt. Is it like 3/4 of a t-shirt big?
It's like half a t-shirt big.
Okay, it's half of a torso big.
Yes, half
okay,
of a
there we go.
medium-sized t-shirt big. But then it's like deep too because it's in a square container.
Great. Well, how deep is this thing now?
12 liters. Okay,
all right, fine.
If they want to look it up, they can look up 12 liters. That's fine. How much sugar do you think is in every 12 liters?
I don't know, like 6 liters then. Half of it is sugar, is what I'm going to guess.
No, not half of it. There's hold on. I got to translate liters into cups. Just hold on. Liters into cups.
I'm thinking, like, if half of the thing was sugar, like, I don't think the sweet tea would get through the nozzle that you guys would put in.
It would just be sludge.
It would be sludge.
No. So 12 liters is 50 cups. That's a lot of cups.
Okay.
50 8-ounce cups. 12 liters.
All right.
Okay. In that 12 liters.
In those 50 cups.
In those 50 cups. So you got 50 cups of tea.
Sure.
And then you have 12 cups of sugar.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot. That's more than a fifth of it is just sugar.
It is. It was always like incredibly sweet.
Oh, it's so good.
When I used to get that, I always used to ask for extra ice, just to kind of water it down a bit, or half sweet and half regular.
Sweet and half unsweet.
It's super fucking sweet. I don't know if they serve it that sweet. Because I know there's one up in Chicago. When I went and visited, I'm like, holy shit, there's a Chick-fil-A up here. Which they're like, yeah, it's a new one. Like they haven't had Chick-fil-A's up there. Maybe they were testing the market. But I always wondered if the food tasted the same, up in Chicago than it did in Florida, for example. So I'm sure the sweet tea, and I could be wrong, but I don't think the sweet tea is quite as sweet.
I'm sure that they do make it that sweet because they have standards and policies that they have to follow.
Aren't they franchised, though?
They are franchised, but you still have to follow the standards and policies.
No one's going to check to see if they're putting the right amount of sweet in that.
Whatever.
Did I ever tell you? I don't know if I ever told the story here on the podcast, but I was Clayton and Riggs. They've been on the show before. They were on the episode Trivia Time with Mr. Riggs. We went to eat actually talking about Epcot, we went into one of the French restaurants. And, we had a dinner there, and this was about 9 years ago. And we went in there, we're eating, and I order a sweet tea. I was like, yeah, can I please have a sweet tea? And, he brings out all of our drinks, and he brings out my tea in like a little glass, thing. And he's like, here's your tea. And then he pulls out these packets of sugar, and he goes, and there's your sweet. We're like, Jesus Christ, can I tip this guy now? That is amazing. Because they obviously don't serve that shit there, so
there's nothing like Southern sweet tea. Chick-fil-A's got good sweet tea. There's a local place I get lunch at with my mom that has good sweet tea. But I know at work all the time, because we serve sweet and unsweet tea, but it's not very sweet. Mm-hmm. It's peak tea.
Right, they serve that at AMC too.
Yeah, it's not very sweet. So people bring the tea back all the time, and they go, I ordered sweet tea, and you gave me unsweet. And I go, where are you from? And if they mention any place in the South, I go, we don't have sweet tea. What would you like instead? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, you're looking for like Chick-fil-A or Publix, right? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, we don't have sweet tea.
The stuff that as soon as you drop some, like a little drop, it doesn't even have to dry up. Ants are already on that shit. Yeah. Like, oh, fucking, this is sugar.
My dad used to joke, if you can stick your spoon in it and it stands straight up without ice, that's Southern sweet tea.
So back to the hashtag game.
Yeah.
We did get a response here from Matt from the Super Side Up podcast, friend of the show. Hashtag, I'm not a millionaire because... tacos, pizza, bacon, and booze.
Those are all great reasons not to be a millionaire, too. That's the real reason I'm not a millionaire is food. I love food. I love spending money on food. I love enjoying food.
You should come out to the Food and Wine Festival. You'll enjoy a lot of the food there.
I should. I talk to people sometimes and I'm like, I just forgot to eat today. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I finish a meal and then I think about my next meal. And I did this before I was pregnant too. This is not a new thing.
That's how my boss is. He says that sometimes he's just work, and he'll just forget to eat.
Oh, no.
And when he does eat, it's like a slice of cheese pizza, and that is it. And then he's back to work. He doesn't even take a full 30-minute break. Like 10 minutes, eats, goes back to work.
Oh no, not me. I gotta plan it. I gotta know what I'm gonna eat.
It's a process. Mm-hmm. It's an event.
Mm-hmm. It is an event. I like sitting down with all my food. I like spread it out everywhere, and I'm like, but my food can't touch. It's not allowed to.
That's kind of weird.
I don't like it. Like the Thanksgiving plate, I get multiple helpings because I get small portions because I don't want my food to touch. I'm really weird.
That explains a lot. All right. This morning when I had my plate of food where it's like the veggies.
I couldn't. I was very uncomfortable.
The mashed potatoes were mingling with the roasted veggies, which were mingling with the corn. Mm-hmm.
I was very uncomfortable. I couldn't do that. I looked at your little plate and I'm like, why didn't he get a big plate? Then his food wanted to touch. I don't know.
I didn't want to dirty up another plate.
I don't like my food to touch. I'm weird. Have you ever seen me mix my food together? It doesn't touch.
Your grits? You've mixed grits together. That's about it.
Grits with butter and salt. I'll add condiments to my food. I just don't want it to touch.
And don't forget, Brokettes, if you also want to participate in the hashtag games every single week, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke, or on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke and @PaulPakelli.
And with all those rabbit trails out of the way, we can move into our news for the week.
It is the portion of the show that I'm guessing most listeners tune in for. It is the news ranging once again, comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. Looks like you're about to interrupt me there.
They tune in for me, Dan. Not just for the news.
And for PaulPakelli.
Am
I going to have the lowest stats when you're recovering from pregnancy?
I guess, probably.
In spite of the guest stars?
Yeah.
Like Swordfish Show, like Lazy Gaming Guys, like Super Side Up.
Where's PaulPakelli?
Possibly at John72Tex. Also, I'm going down this list here. I've got so many volunteers.
PaulPakelli be taking a nap. That's where she is. Recovering. I'll post pictures from the hospital bed.
When you post those pictures, can you tell them to tune into it? Just so we can keep the show going?
Sure. But see, then my return episode will be the biggest ever.
The most downloads?
The most downloads of any podcast of all time.
Could be. Or people tune in during the guest episodes and they're like, who the hell is this? What's a Kelli?
Oh no, they know who I am. I'm their almighty emperor.
So kicking it off with a blast from the past, Wizard World is relaunching its entertainment magazine Wizard as a digital quarterly service. Have you ever read Wizard?
No.
Was that before your time?
Wait, did you buy me a Wizard and it had Pirates of the Caribbean on the front of it?
That wasn't me. That definitely wasn't me.
No, you bought me a magazine with Pirates of... Oh, maybe I bought that for myself.
I don't know if it was Wizard or not. I've only ever bought one issue of Wizard, and it was right before Spider-Man 3 came out. And this is... I mean, the internet was around, but you didn't really have sites like Bleeding Cool or Newsarama where they update every single day. And sometimes magazines were the only ways you can get information. You know, that included Game Informer, Nintendo Power, Wizard Magazine. And on this particular cover, they had the that one infamous picture of Spider-Man from Spidey 3 on the gargoyle, kind of leaning over, and he's got the black suit on. And there's like reveals of Venom and issue and blah, blah, blah. And that was like one of the... I don't think that was the issue. She just pulled it up on her phone, and it was one where the symbiote is going over the Spider-Man's left hand. I'm pretty sure it was one where he's leaning against the gargoyle, but we were actually visiting Disney at the time, and I went into the gift shop and they had Wizard Magazine, and I bought it and I couldn't wait and I read it. It was awesome, but I also didn't subscribe to it, so it's one I wasn't helping it stay around.
So you were not helping, no.
Not at all.
I lied. I just Googled Wizard Pirates of the Caribbean. I've never owned one of these magazines. But I remembered when you got all your information from magazines. I remember when you got all your information from the little booklet that came with the video game.
That's right,
That's how old I am.
I don't think there's even booklets in video games anymore.
No, there's just warnings and...
I was working at GameStop when they started removing that stuff, and like you said, there was just the warnings. I don't even know if they have those. Most of them they put in the menu when you boot up the game now,
right.
So I don't know if they're not necessary. However, I do have fond memories of like the Sega Genesis Sonic games where, you know, they have this thick ass booklet in there. They would have Sonic's biography, his height and weight as if he's like a real character, and also like Miles' middle name, which I never knew. It's like Miles Tails Prowler. Maybe I got it backwards, but you know, just the fact that you know his last name is Prowler, like that's pretty amazing. Knuckles the Echidna. There's a lot of useful as a 8-year-old kid information in those booklets.
You know what did have useful information was the Pokemon Snap booklet. I remember this because it had, can you get these shots? And there were like 6 special shots that you had to get of Pokemon, and then you got like X amount of million points.
Were those the ones where you had to like throw a pester ball and like evolve a Pokemon and all that?
The only one that I could never get, and I still have the hardest time with it, is in the volcano level where you get 3 Growliths. You can get 3 Growliths and then shoo them all to the corner and then get a picture of them in the corner, all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And I got so close one time. I got 2 Growliths and I was like, yeah, badass. And they're all going to the corner. And then I hit like the last one and it's an Arcanine. And I was like, fuck!
Has to be Growliths?
It had to be 3 Growliths.
That's pretty awesome that you pretty much had a game guide in that, small booklet of Pokemon Snap. But onto Wizard World itself, I know this is a part of them restructuring themselves to become viable, to, get themselves out of this hole that they really built themselves into. A lot of it they attribute to the expansion of the conventions, the lower attendance, the fact that there's so many cons already, or even possibly that some conventions are doing it better than they are. I've talked in the past about the Wizard World Chicago Comic-Con, and, I enjoyed it okay, but it wasn't, anything compared to C2E2 or even MegaCon. So I know last year Wizard World canceled a bunch of its shows. This year they canceled the Wizard World Orlando show, which was supposed to be this month. I had requested off and everything, which... Looking on it now, I probably wouldn't have gotten the day off anyway because I'm now in this, this new shop. But it's still, them trying to recover the losses that they had for the year when they obviously expected something bigger. And a part of that is trying to make their online presence larger and to really build on that.
So in addition to the magazine, they are also doing a daily video series called Whiz Pop that will work hand in hand with the magazine to provide more content.
We have a quote here from John Mata, the Wizard World president and CEO, who said, quote, "To a generation of fans, The Wizard name has stood at the intersection of entertainment and pop culture. By introducing Wizard and WizPop as vibrant digital incarnations, Wizard World will expand its preeminent position in the industry to connect and interact with millions of fans every day. End quote.
At the height of its circulation, Wizard hit 100,000 subscribers. This being online, do you think they could potentially hit more?
Not right away. It's tough. Unless they make something like Newsarama or like Bleeding Cool, I don't really know what all they can offer on the digital platform that is going to hit something as high as 100,000 subscribers. I mean, there are... The thing right now, I don't know if you've kept up too much on YouTube with, the latest review sites or the latest news sites, but what they do is they'll have a website, a standalone one, and they'll say, hey, we've got this exclusive content, exclusive videos. They'll get content creators from YouTube and they say, hey, come create videos for us exclusively and we'll pay you this much. And then they'll have this platform built and they'll reach out to, the consumers and they'll say, hey, pay, X amount per month and you'll get access to all of these videos every single month. And we upload this many daily. That seems to be the direction that a lot of these websites are going in. If Wizard ends up being just a digital magazine with no expansion from it, which it sounds like they do have a plan. They have the daily video series to accompany the magazine itself. But if this is kind of like the Game Informer magazine where it's just something you read on your iPad, I don't think they're going to hit the numbers that they expect quick enough to, keep them afloat based on whatever budget they built here. So it's going to have to be something more than, just a digital magazine with with the video to go along with it because, we're in this content. We love this stuff, but, we're not going to be paying a subscription to Wizard when we can get our news from, Newsarama, Bleeding Cool, Twitter even. On Twitter, a lot of people will just throw up the links. They'll even put up screenshots and the news will be that tweet. It's so accessible right now that you have to give consumers a huge reason to pay to consume it.
It stands to reason, though, that they could have a lot of exclusive content if they're as big as they are, as big as they were. I definitely think that they have some connections to try and get this information before anybody else has it.
I think from what I remember, one of the guys that is producing a lot of the videos for them used to work for either Rooster Teeth or Giant Bomb. So
Rooster Teeth?
Rooster Teeth, yeah.
Rooster Teeth. Who named it Rooster Teeth?
It's a big name. I've never watched a single Rooster Teeth video, and I know that's like sacrilege because they're enormous on YouTube.
I have never even heard of Rooster Teeth.
Same with Giant. Well, you're not on Twitter. You're like barely on Twitter. You're on Facebook most of the time.
I'm on Facebook all the time.
All the youngins are not on Facebook. That's where you'd hear from Rooster Teeth, definitely.
Well, you know what? It took me forever to move away from MySpace, so just give me time with my Facebook. Should I be on the Instagram too?
If you want. Like, Instagram is kind of like Facebook now. Facebook bought them, and now there's algorithms on Instagram. You can't just see a stream of photos. They'll show you ones that, either post less but get more engagement, or like there's a whole thing now where even if you post up a photo, it's not going to get equal representation based on the timeline. And that's what Facebook does too. Like, if I put up an update, it's not going to be at the top like this second. They're going to put up someone else's who, got likes quicker than yours ahead of time. So there's a whole... Like, the rate that we post on Facebook is based on an algorithm. Like, we can't post more than 3 a day. And sometimes I don't like to do more than even 3. Like, I like to just do 2. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we do 1 regular post each day. And then Sundays, it's the video as well. It's a whole mess. And they've done that with Instagram too. So, I mean, if you want to be with the times 5 years ago, yeah, be on Instagram and Facebook.
I don't know any of what you just said.
Did it make any sense at all?
I heard Instagram and Facebook. But I believe you.
All you have to know is your posts will not be seen as often. That is all.
Lots of people see my posts. Like 50 people see my posts. Okay, so Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, they're working with Wizard to help them out with this digital platform. Some of the regular features for the old Wizard magazine, these are some that were broken down by readers, people that heard the news and they're like, yes, this is especially what I enjoyed. Newsarama highlighted them. And the first one is Bookshelf.
This is a brief descriptions of the monthly trade paperbacks and hardcover releases.
So this is kind of like your previews magazine, your previews world, your comic shop news. They also had the top 10 writers and artists.
This is lists charting the most popular creators of the month in each category.
So it's kind of like a popularity type of poll every month and they had that on there. So another way to get in touch with the artists and have exclusive interviews with them.
Next up, we have Casting Call. This was a feature proposing the dream cast for potential film adaptations of various comic books.
That continues today, right? Like, people are always asking, like, what comic would you want to see into a movie? Like, we just had it 2 weeks ago, right? And what's your dream casting? So they did that in the magazine every single month from the editors and writers. And the final feature that was a regular on Wizard is Last Man Standing.
This was a dream face-off between two different characters or teams, always of different companies and or universes. The feature would detail a brief showdown between the two, including the victor, and would be accompanied by an exclusive illustration, usually by a high-profile artist, depicting the battle.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That is so cool. Like, that is effort right there. Like, they could have just left it at 58% of you voted that Spider-Man would win, and the rest voted that Nightwing would win. You know, they could have just left it at that, but to make a whole fucking image with it by a professional artist, that is super amazing. And I hope that they do bring that back in some form in their new Wizard magazine. Like, that's a cool exclusive thing that you can be like, yeah, I look forward to seeing that every single month. Because whatever magazine subscription you had, and, you know, if you're 25 or older, there was some magazine that you read. Like, that was the thing, you know, if you liked anime, there was a magazine for that. If you liked video games, you know, you had Game Informer, you had EGM. And there was always that feature, that column, that section of the magazine that you would most look forward to reading. So that seems to be like, if they can bring some of those back or see what the readers missed the most from it, because I do think that these digital subscribers are going to be older in general. That should be a highlight on the covers. That should be something they blow up on Twitter and on Facebook, Instagram. And that to me is the one that I gravitate more towards. And one that I completely missed or they didn't publish when I bought that fucking Spider-Man 3 issue.
That Last Man Standing, they could easily partner with the people who do those videos who would win.
Death battles?
Yes. They could easily partner with them and be like, hey, listen, once a month, you're going to make us a video. These are the two characters that we're highlighting this month. And then that's how they tie it in there. So Death Battles no longer puts it up on YouTube. They get paid by this place. And then you have to subscribe to be able to see it.
So the premiere of Wizard Magazine is this weekend, the weekend of the episode's release on August 25th, and that was at the 20th Annual Wizard World Chicago Celebration and Comic-Con. Amazing. I hope it went well for them, and if you did see the preview of Wizard, definitely let us know what you thought of it on Twitter and on Facebook.
So as we touched on, it's about time we saw the return of Wizard Magazine. It is also about time that Nintendo got on board with PayPal so that you can purchase all your Nintendo things through PayPal.
Welcome to 2005, Nintendo.
They're back there with me still on Facebook.
Not on MySpace?
Oh man, I miss MySpace so much.
PayPal will finally be added as a payment option on the Nintendo Switch's eShop.
PayPal announced a new partnership with Nintendo that will allow users to connect their PayPal accounts to their consoles.
Just make it easy.
Yeah.
Make it as easy as possible for people to spend their money, and they will do it.
And now there's even more things. Have you heard about Venmo?
Never heard of Venmo.
Or something wallet something. I got somebody at work. They've owed me $15 for 3 months now. 3 months they've owed me $15. And they're like, just download this app and I can just send you the money. I'm like, or you can go to a bank and withdraw 20 and I'll give you a 5.
Physical cash.
Right. Because a lot of those, you can't transfer it back into your account till there's X amount in it.
Yeah, they
so
fucking
you lose the money
shit
anyway.
on you like that.
So I'd rather they just go to a bank and withdraw a 20 and I will give them a 5 and then they can give me my $15.
That's how YouTube is. Like, for the ad revenue, they're like, you gotta make $100 before you can draw any of this money. And it's like, God fucking assholes. Like, we don't have a YouTube, this is just one of those limits. Like, I'm sure if we were a YouTube exclusive show, you know, we would have reached that limit quicker, but it's just another example of like, yeah, you can't have these $70. Sorry. You gotta, you know, keep earning more pennies. Maybe you'll see this money in 3 years.
Hopefully. So that's good on Nintendo. Like you said, make it easier for everyone. About time.
I remember back when we were spending money on the Wii with the Virtual Console, you had to buy those fucking Nintendo eShop cards. They were a pain in the ass. You had a point system. If you can just do PayPal, make it easy. I cannot wait. When we do eventually get the Switch, that will absolutely be our form of payment. Go with PayPal. And continuing on the video game news, joining the latest Injustice 2 DLC pack of characters, Dark Horse's Hellboy will be fighting alongside Raiden and Sub-Zero.
Okay.
It is super cool. Hellboy. Like, as soon as my coworker Joey told me Hellboy got added into Justice 2, I'm like, holy shit, is it like the movie, or are we going to see Mike Mignola's Hellboy? And he's like, it's Mignola's. And we pulled up the image, and hell yeah, it's fucking straight out of the comic book.
Hell yeah, Hellboy.
Absolutely right. It is such a cool addition to the roster of Injustice characters. I know people have been whining that Raiden and Sub-Zero are part of the DLC 2-pack because they're like, is this Injustice or is this Mortal Kombat? Like, let's get some DC characters on here.
They got plenty of DC characters. People want to see those other characters too.
I would agree with you if the Watchmen were in there by now. Like, you remember Ed Boon had put out that poll asking, would you guys be interested in the Watchmen? And everyone voted fucking yes. And I put up that gif of Dr. Manhattan coming into existence with his naked ass. And I'm like, put Dr. Manhattan in this fucking video game.
With his naked ass.
And the only one, as we mentioned like a year ago, the only one who could beat Dr. Manhattan in Injustice 2 is Batman. So you could only play as Batman if you actually wanted to beat, Dr. Manhattan. That means in versus mode, you would always have to wait till your opponent shows, like, oh, is he going to pick Dr. Manhattan? Is he? Oh, then I got to pick Batman.
You would just always pick Batman.
Oh, that's true.
Why would you ever not pick anybody else?
What if your opponent picks Batman also?
Then that's obviously an evil Batman, and you would destroy him.
The Batman who wins is the real Batman. Yes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And so then if you lose, you can't be mad because you weren't the real Batman.
That's true. That's super true.
You were evil Batman.
They put in Swamp Thing, plays amazing. I've played Injustice 2. Swamp Thing is awesome. I still want to see Dr. Manhattan, but I will definitely try out Sub-Zero and Hellboy on this next go-around.
Dr. Manhattan with his naked ass.
He's got to have that blue dick, right? Got to have it. Same with the comics in Doomsday Clock.
Is that how he would defeat people? He just flies in with his big blue dick and they're like, whoa, we're done. Don't want to fight this guy.
Maybe.
Well, because you always said that's how you would stop fights.
Yeah, but if he were to try that on Batman, would Batman just keep fighting anyway?
Well, Batman would. That's why Batman's the only one who can beat him. Superman would get real awkward,
He would feel like he was cheating on Batman.
Yeah. And everybody else would just be like, oh, I'm real uncomfortable. This isn't cool, Manhattan.
I mean, we already figured out that's what the fight is. It's going to be Dr. Manhattan falling in love for Batman, Superman already in love with Batman, and then Doomsday Clock comes around. They're going to fight each other to see who loves Batman more.
And the Doomsday Clock falls in love with Batman.
Is that a character too?
Yes. It needs to be. Needs to be a literal doomsday clock. And it's just like, oh, Batman.
Who does love Batman more? It's going to be Superman, right?
Obviously.
He has to win.
Always. Because Manhattan would spout some emo shit about, our love wasn't meant to be.
What if Manhattan beats Superman and he says, you are still the one who would have loved him more, and I can tell that you love him the most because you kept fighting me, even though the odds are stacked against you, and then leaves the universe. Who would have loved him more still? Would it still be Superman as the winner because he kept fighting for Batman?
Yeah, probably. I mean, Superman's always going to love Batman the most. Superman can hear Batman's heartbeat from the other side of the world.
He's constantly saying that.
Yes.
I can't hear Does he love him more than Catwoman?
It's a different kind of love.
Yes.
He's obsessed with him more than Catwoman. I think Catwoman is better for Batman than Superman.
I agree.
Because Superman would just... I don't think Superman and Alfred would get along.
I think they would.
No?
Superman cooks as well.
Yeah.
So they can both...
No, that's why they wouldn't get along. Because Superman would be, that food's not healthy enough for it. Just let me, Alfred. And he would start to make it too. And then Alfred would get upset. Yeah, no, they couldn't. You can't put two women in the same house.
I would never call... No, Alfred does not have that role.
Alfred's not a woman.
He's more like Batman's dad, if anything.
Aww. No, they wouldn't get along. But Alfred and Catwoman get along.
Oddly enough, Damien doesn't like her.
Damien doesn't like anyone. He's a little shit.
He likes his mom. He likes Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, his
and he
mom,
likes Batman.
His mom is a terrible person.
So is Catwoman. They're both terrible people. Let's move on to the Disney side with our movie news, Kelly. And this is where there's a shit ton of clickbait going around, which we're going to get to. But first, the stuff that's actually real, the stuff that has been confirmed is happening.
A Star Wars film centered around Obi-Wan Kenobi is in development, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
One of the greatest Jedis of all time, as I'm told by Star Wars fans. It is unclear if Ewan McGregor will return to the role from the prequels, but he has been enthusiastic in the past about returning to the Star Wars universe, and he did voice Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 7. When you hear Rey like reaching out for the lightsaber and you hear all these different voices, Ewan McGregor did do some voice work for that scene too, so it seems like he is open to the idea.
I think it's just all going to boil down to those dollar bills.
It could, but he's not exactly like an A-list actor right now, you know what I mean? I think they can get him for pretty cheap considering it's Disney. If they can pay Harrison Ford to come back for a movie and do as many scenes as he did, they can definitely pay Ewan McGregor for a one-off movie.
Can Ewan McGregor sing for us in the movie? Like he did in Moulin Rouge?
I've never seen that.
You've never seen Moulin Rouge? Ah, he sings and it's great.
I've seen the Nostalgia Critics review of it.
No.
And how awful apparently it is.
No. It's a wonderful love story where she dies of AIDS.
All right. Kind of like Jenny in
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
But not as good as Forrest Gump.
So it was rightfully so a Nostalgia Critic review. I think this, he's obviously an older character. This would take place right after Episode 3. Mm-hmm. They could definitely pull it off. I mean, Disney is trying to do a lot of these one-off movies. Rogue One, I think, was an example of that, where it didn't really sit in the episode movies. You didn't see the giant Star Wars scroll before it, and that's kind of how they trademarked.
They didn't have the Star Wars scroll?
They didn't. And that was like a lot of the Star Wars nerds were like, no, it's got to be Star Wars if it's got to have this. Like, even if the shows have it, then this has to have it. But it didn't, and that's kind of how Disney set it apart from the rest of them by saying, this is not an episode installment, this is just an extra story. And I feel like that's what they're going to do with like the Solo, Han Solo film, and then eventually the Boba Fett movie.
There's a Han Solo film?
Yeah. It's in development right now.
Who's going to play Han Solo?
I don't remember the actor's name, but I'm not following it all. I'm not the Star Wars guy at all. Like, people are telling me right now, oh yeah, it's this guy and these directors.
You can't not have Harrison Ford.
It's a young story. Like, this is way before, Episode 4. This is how he first got the Millennium Falcon.
Does he look like Harrison Ford at least?
I have no idea. No clue at all.
One of you brokettes, you have to let me know. I'm in angst now.
He probably won't. I mean, who looks like Harrison Ford?
You're sitting here, you're like, Kelly, you don't even fucking care about Star Wars.
You didn't see Rogue One.
Oh, no.
Are you going to see Episode 8? Do you care about Episode 8?
No, I don't. But are we going to go see it?
I don't know if I'm going to see Episode 8 right away. I mean, I'm kind of curious about this Snoke fella, and I like seeing, I'll bring that up with Star Wars fans.
Isn't he from Game of Thrones?
I don't know. I don't watch that either. It's the one, you watched Episode 7. It's the one hologram villain that was bald and kind of scarred.
Oh.
He was the video game character, that CGI puppet.
Yeah. I don't care about him.
But a lot of people are like, who is that? Is he this Darth Tyrannus or whatever the fuck Darth Plagueis? Is he Darth Plagueis as mentioned in Episode 3?
Who named these people Darth Plagueis and Darth Tyrannosaurus Rex?
The creator of the same guy that named him Palpatine, Kelly.
Well, Palpatine's cool.
Okay, that one's cool. That one's all right.
Tyrannosaurus Rex and Ludicrous or whatever you called him. Those are not cool names.
I'm curious to watch it to find out who Plagueis is.
Is Plagueis really his name? Are we still
Plagueis is actually I'm sorry, Snoke.
Who's Plagueis?
The guy that they think Snoke is. Darth Plagueis is a old Sith that could create life. Essentially the one who helped create Anakin Skywalker, because in the first movie, she admits that that he doesn't have a father, so it's kind of like a virgin birth, like in the Bible. So there's a lot of symbolism in that first movie that follow that.
He really doesn't have a father? I think his mom.
According to his mom, that's the thing.
His mom got knocked up on a one-night stand and just said, "No, you don't have a father, honey."
The lore is that Darth Plagueis could manipulate, and this is why I'm like, no, he doesn't have a dad. He could manipulate midichlorians so that, to create life. And the rumor is that that's what he did, or someone did, to Anakin's mom, and helped create Anakin. out of the midichlorians. And that's why his count is so high.
Darth Plagueis manipulated some midichlorians through his penis and put it into his mom during a one-night stand. And that's why she told Anakin he has no father. Nobody has to see the movie. I just told you all what happened.
Spoilers. Right, you figured it out. Yeah. And is that this Snoke guy?
do we have... No, that's not Snoke. Snoke is, like, creepy.
No, he used to look fine, though. Back in his early days.
How do you know?
Because the dark side corrupts you. It makes you look like Palpatine.
But there's a lot of handsome villains. I feel like the dark side should make you more handsome.
Name a handsome villain in the Star Wars universe that is strong in the Sith powers.
Gaston is a handsome villain.
It's not a Star Wars.
What's his name from Hunchback of Notre Dame? He's pretty
He's not
handsome.
a Sith. I'm talking about Siths. They get corrupted by the dark side, and they get, kind of mangly looking.
What if I just Google mangly looking? What if I Google handsome Siths?
Good luck.
Handsome. Hold on. Let's look now.
And Kylo Ren does not count. That guy's still in training.
Not ugly.
He's still in training.
He's super ugly.
You said he's not ugly?
He's super ugly.
So he's got to be strong in the Force then.
Super strong. Handsome Sith Lords on Google Images. Look, people drew pictures of handsome Sith Lords. These guys are... Who is this? Is this a guy cosplaying as a Sith Lord and he thinks he's handsome?
I guess so.
Or is that an actual Sith Lord?
I think he's a cosplayer that feels that wearing like those fingerless gloves made out of leather are cool.
Hayden Christensen is beautiful in that picture.
He is not a Sith Lord.
Damn it. Look, I will find you a handsome Sith Lord.
Best of luck again.
What about Snape? Can Snape be a Sith Lord?
He's not a Sith. And he wasn't handsome. Like, he's not supposed to be handsome.
Snape is super dreamy.
In the books, he's supposed to be this ugly, greasy guy.
No,
and then they changed him.
He's super handsome.
He got some excellent conditioner.
Yeah.
Would you say, was he a handsome actor?
Yeah.
Alan Rickman?
Snape was like the most handsome in that whole movie. Out of everybody. There's people always talk about Harry and Neville Longbottom and
Is that
Draco.
Yeah. Okay, I thought they shipped them. Never mind. I'm sorry.
People ship them too. And Draco, and they're always like, oh, they're so hot. I'm like, nah, look at Snape. His love never dies.
He got buried with lilies. There's a lot of like fan art where they have him in a coffin and there's just lilies all on him.
There's a theory that he didn't really die.
How would that work?
You haven't heard this theory?
No, I've never heard that one.
So they didn't find his body. So they went back for him.
That wasn't in the book though, right?
I think it was, I don't know, it was somewhere. They never recovered his body.
Okay, fine.
Okay. And then he's a potions master, Danny.
Oh, I have heard of this, yeah. So
why would he not have an antidote for fucking snake venom?
But you see him die in front of Harry. His last words are, you look just like your mother.
Yeah, you look like your mother, you piece of shit. he just wanted Harry to stop talking to him and go out and do stuff. And then, he ran away.
I like him better dead. Like, he's more tragic as a dead character.
Oh. But Snape. I'm going to find us a handsome Sith, though. I bet there's going to be one in this movie. This new movie. I bet they will have a new Sith, and he'll be handsome.
So continuing along to the other side of the studio universe, so the opposite of Disney is, of course, Warner Brothers. According to Deadline, Patty Jenkins, the director of the first Wonder Woman, has yet to sign on to Wonder Woman 2 over the contract's pay.
We do have a quote here from Deadline that says, "Why the delay? Because Jenkins, who was lauded repeatedly during the Women in Film Crystal Awards this year by several of its nominees, expects to be paid substantially more and the same as a male director who would receive after such a box office coup. That desire was seconds away from becoming a reality on Thursday evening as a deal was being finalized, which would elevate her to being the highest paid female director in town." End quote.
I do like how the story shaped it as if Warner Brothers was going, "You're a woman. We're not going to pay you that much." Because I looked at all the comments and they're like, they need to stop being like this and pay women what they deserve. As if Warner Brothers came out and they said, hell no, she's a woman. We'll never pay her that. We'll replace you instead. Like that, none of this has just
They shook out their spurs and adjusted their belt with their mutton chops and spit into a bucket and said, "Woman." You women folk and your crazy ideals.
What do you want to vote next? Like, in reality, it was just they were in negotiations and they came to a fucking agreement.
Yeah.
Based on what the first movie did.
Just like they would have done with any male director.
With anyone else. Exactly right. And just like they didn't do fucking Deadpool director. They couldn't come to agreement over Deadpool 2. And it wasn't pay-related, allegedly, but it was more about creative differences. Probably pay-related. But, you know, it happens. Like, you always renegotiate, especially, even if you have the option for a multi-picture deal, you always renegotiate in between based on how much the movie did.
I still want to see these cow folk. Soon they're going to tell us women don't belong in the kitchen.
I would have our artist Ryan Galeese draw that with like a big WB logo with the Spurs and all that. But I know someone would take it and be like, no, look at what Warner Brothers. This is exactly who they are. And that would be on the next fucking
not who they
picture.
Are. But then we would get a lot of clicks.
No, because they wouldn't credit us. Like, they wouldn't credit the artist. They wouldn't credit where the idea came from. None of that would know. Wonder Woman is currently the 15th highest grossing film ever for Warner Brothers, behind Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy, Batman v Superman, and the Harry Potter films.
This movie is set to release December 13th, 2019, but they better get their asses moving on filming.
As we said last week, Warner Brothers, the Blu-ray's coming up. Can't wait to see that. Can't wait to watch it on right at home, as many times as we'd like. And really can't wait to see what they bring to the big screen with Wonder Woman 2. Obviously, there'll be a bigger budget. There's going to be more trust, I think, in the writers as well, and Patty Jenkins and the actors. So let's see how they expand the story as what would be allegedly another time jump into the future from the first movie.
I can't wait. The first one was so good. We've ranted and raved about it. There's no reason to think that the second one won't be just as good, especially if you get the same director.
So continuing with the future of the DC universe, Variety is reporting that Jared Leto and Margot Robbie will be reuniting as Joker and Harley Quinn in a spin-off film starring the two characters.
There was no doubt in our minds that this was going to happen.
I figured they would have put them in Suicide Squad 2 as like an expansion from there, but if this is what you said you wanted, like 3 episodes ago, a Mad Love movie, then fuck yes, we are 100% for it.
So Glenn Ficarra, the writer for Bad Santa, and John Requa, the director for I Love You, Philip Morris, are in final negotiations to direct.
While no release date has been given, production won't begin until after Suicide Squad 2, so this is probably a 2022 release date, if anything, maybe even later.
I'm sure we'll see him somewhere in Suicide Squad 2 if you have Harley in there, even if it's just a flashback. Yeah, Joker's going to be there. But we all knew they were going to make a movie with just the two of them. That's what people wanted since Suicide Squad. That's what people keep talking about. And there's so much material that they have to pull from.
People are still shitting on Jared Leto's Joker as the worst
Jared
Joker
Leto
of all
alone.
time. You said it wasn't your favorite either. Then you don't really see him as Joker. But that you do appreciate the different spin that they took on the character.
I don't mind him as Joker. That's fine. I mean, he's no Mark Hamill.
No one ever will be.
No one ever will be Mark Hamill. But he scared me. He was spooky. He was going to kill some people. He sat in nightclubs and went, blah.
He's definitely spooky. With the writer from Bad Santa, one of my favorite Christmas film of all time. I mean, I'm we're going to see it regardless. We liked Suicide Squad 1. We'll see what happens with Suicide Squad 2. But we do have more from the future of the DC universe involving one of your favorite filmmakers.
Yes. So, in another report from Deadline, Martin Scorcese, who did Shutter Island, will be producing a solo Joker film with Todd Phillips from The Hangover in the director's chair.
So to make that clear, Martin Scorsese is just a producer, and Todd Phillips will be the director for this spin-off Joker film. So you read that immediately and you think, okay, a Jared Leto Joker film and a Suicide Squad 2 and a Margot Robbie Harley Quinn and Joker film. False. The film takes place in the 1980s and will be set apart from the current DCEU as a new banner of DC films from Warner Brothers with different actors taking on the roles of familiar and unfamiliar characters.
Huh. Interesting.
So think of this as like Elseworlds of the film universe, or like the What Ifs, for example, on the Marvel side, or the Vertigo films, or the Vertigo versions of these characters. You know, sometimes they'll publish something under the Vertigo imprint, like Batman: A Dark Knight, which recently came out from Paul Dini. So this seems to be that kind of imprint that they are doing, and they're trying to do with the film side, assuming that this ever goes forward, because again, this is a whole lot of clickbait based on the fact that this was not even on the slate of San Diego Comic-Con's news. Like the official slate, I retweeted earlier today, and someone said, look guys, all this news about the Batman and Suicide Squad 2 and the Joker and Harley film and then this Joker movie, none of that is confirmed by the studio itself. This is just the slate right now we have to worry about. All of these are reports that can fall apart at any minute.
This movie would have a big twist, though. He's insane in the end. He's not really a detective.
What?
From Shutter Island.
Oh, okay. I got it. Well, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Jared Leto is still set to reprise his role as the Joker in Suicide Squad 2, so this does not affect any of the DCEU films. As mentioned earlier, it is completely apart from it.
I may be biased about this because I love Scorcese and I know that he's just producing. But yeah, go ahead. Make it happen.
What an expensive fucking movie,
yeah,
right?
Just film it. I'll see
Scorsese
it.
producing?
It'd be cool. 1980s Joker. I wish it was like 1940s Joker, so you could be like, see here, honey.
It might be something like that anyway. Like
That'd be so cool.
Even Batman the Animated Series was like an amalgam of the past and the future into this awesome cartoon. So maybe they'll do something similar to that in this Joker film. I think the biggest clue there, if this does happen, it's a 1980s set film. So this is going to be a Joker very different from the Suicide Squad current Joker, which was more inspired by modern Mexican gangsters as opposed to something in the 80s, which might be more like what we saw in the 89 Batman. You know, the top hat, not a top hat, I don't know what you call those kind of fedoras.
The fedoras.
With the suits. That's probably going to be it's going to be a more classic
Chicago
Joker.
gangsters.
Exactly right. So something closer to the Romero Joker than the Heath Ledger or Jared Leto Joker. So something set apart from what they're doing. And the biggest concern that I'm seeing from a lot of people is that they don't give audiences enough credit, that audiences will be confused and say, hold on, didn't we just see the Joker in Suicide Squad? Who is this guy now?
I don't think that's going to... I mean, some people, yeah, that'll happen with some people.
I think it is definitely going to happen,
but
sure.
For the majority, I think that we have seen enough superhero movies that we can differentiate now. Because, for example, you had the X-Men movies where you had Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Were people really confused when they saw First Class and it wasn't Patrick Stewart?
No, but that was clearly a prequel. I'm with you, though, where we now live in this age where if people are confused by a character or by, an iteration of that same character, instead of, if they're a casual viewer, instead of going, hold on a second, this wasn't that guy, they defer to their comic book friend and they're like, okay, I'm confused. Wasn't he just in this movie? And then they're like, I'm missing something, as opposed to, hold on, this isn't right. They're less accusatory and more, I need to get more information.
Right.
That's definitely the culture we're seeing with superhero moviegoers, as opposed to, if they tried to pull this off in the 90s, in which they may have been super confused. But that's also when, we had Val Kilmer suddenly as the new Batman. And, it still made money.
George Clooney. And bat nipples.
Well, yeah, but that has, that's separate from a new character, that's just the new Batsuit. But I think if this is a, new banner for it, and obviously I'm super excited, more Joker films, and there's already I was joking with my coworkers and I was like, look guys, we've got 3 Jokers in the comic books right now. Batman just learned about it in the chair when he was in the Mobius chair, that there's not one identity to the Joker, there are 3. So there's our second one right there in the DC universe. Like, if they ever wanted to Dr. Manhattan this shit and get him in there, we can have all 3 Jokers in the same fucking movie 10 years from now. Holy shit, man.
That's crazy.
Everyone would come in the fucking theater.
I think that there's a lot they can do with this movie, though, because you could do, okay, man, my mind's going. They need me to write this movie right now. So you have 1980s Joker, right? Back then, whatever. Moving his way up in the crime world of Gotham. So then you throw Penguin in there. You could throw, what's his name, Falcone. You could throw the Riddler in there and Joker overtaking essentially all these little groups, all these other little gangs that are in Gotham and breaking up when he's still a fairly new Joker.
Okay.
And you don't even need Batman in there for that long.
Very true. Yeah, he could just be a cameo piece like in Suicide Squad.
Like at the very end, he swoops in, takes him to Arkham, and then he just laughs.
Is it inevitable that we'll see a 1980s Harley Quinn?
Maybe. That'd be cool. I don't know that they do that, though. That would get too confusing.
No, they're going to do it. They're going to do it, and when they do it, we're going to be happy.
Yeah,
we're not going to. We're not going to be confused.
We're going to be like, yes!
So it's interesting, this new banner. It's exciting. They try to do something different, something new, and it's because it's Warner Brothers. They're fighting uphill. Everyone needs it to be a part of the same universe, and it drives them nuts. And I still don't fucking get it. I don't understand why this need for unison in these films, as opposed to Warner Brothers has always been the kind of brand, the kind of studio that goes for the more art-driven films. This is you hear Kevin Smith talk about it all the time with Weinstein, with Harvey Weinstein, and now with Warner Brothers. Like, that's always been their mantra of like, let's get these directors, let's give them a personal project, and we'll fund it. It's not indie, of course, because it is still Warner Brothers, but they're giving more creative reign to these people, to these creatives than you might see out of Disney or something like that. And this is a part of that imprint. This is them saying this is a risk, but not really, because it doesn't affect our DCEU.
So while we're really happy about this announcement or this possible could-be movie, there are many people that aren't.
And that brings us to this week's Nerd Rage Reaction!
For those of you who don't know what this is, a Nerd Rage Reaction is a comment that's out there on the internet that we found amusing from people just raging because I guess they don't enjoy life.
Or they can't just say, I'm not going to watch this, and that's it.
They have to leave their comment. This is the internet age. You must comment on everything.
Exactly, just as we are.
So we're not going to tell you who said it. You're welcome to go out there and find it yourself and reply back if you choose to. But we did need to share it with all of you.
The quote for this week's Nerd Rage Reaction reads, "Anything you do with DC characters should be part of the same universe. You're continually shooting yourself in the foot by not doing so. This film, it would be glorious if it was part of the universe. Not having it as part of the DCEU makes it cool yet meaningless and will confuse non-comic fans." End quote.
Did they like the recent Spider-Man movies? Because I think those had different actors in it. Were they confused there?
I like how he confuses himself even.
Yeah.
In the same nerd. Like, I'm reading this and it's like, this film would be glorious, but only if it was part of the universe. So it could be a great movie, but because it's not a part of the universe, it's automatically a bad movie.
Oh, because he's seen the movie.
He's seen it already. He's like, this could have been great if.
Yeah. So he's gone into the future and seen this movie.
And I like how he says it not being a part of it makes it cool, but meaningless. Like, so how do you feel, really? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you actually like this or do you not like this? It's cool that it's not a part of it, but it's meaningless and it should be.
Listen.
It's cool and it's glorious, but it's not glorious because it's not a part of it.
8th graders confuse themselves a lot, and that's just what's going on here.
And that's the Nerd Rage Reaction right there. We picked on an 8th grader. Possibly. Maybe.
No, this is definitely an adult who's acting like an 8th grader. Just say, I'm not going to go see it. Or it's not for me.
It's not for me.
Or you know what? Don't say anything at all.
Definitely not for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
No. We have a last bit of news, and this is on the comic book side. Still related to Joker. Themed them up as I was constructing this news together. In Sean Murphy's upcoming Batman the White Knight miniseries, which all of you should add it to your pull list if you haven't already, Murphy revealed that Joker's real name in this story will be Jack Napier, who has a bit of history if you've seen any of the previous Batman anythings.
Napier was previously used as the Joker's real name in 1989's Batman film starring Jack Nicholson.
They also named him Jack Napier in Batman the Animated Series at one point as one of his aliases. And then in a future episode, I think it was Batman himself who says even that name ended up being false. So it's kind of like, they continue the mystery of who
Right.
the Joker was.
We're never going to know Joker's real name. He doesn't have a real name.
He does in The Killing Joke. Like, I think it is Jack Napier in The Killing Joke, which is where they pulled it from to use in the 89 film.
But like, overall, they're never going to say this is the Joker's name.
We'll find out when Jeff Johns decides to reveal the 3 Jokers. Like, that's when we'll know, like, at least one of them, I think, is going to have a real name or an origin. And I think Jack Napier is going to be one of them with The Killing Joke. There's no way The Killing Joke Joker does not count in the main DC comic universe. And if it doesn't, who gives a shit? Again, this is the summary of it. Like, just enjoy the things for what they are.
Right. So, in White Knight, the Joker is a reformed politician who feels he can help Gotham better than Batman can.
Are you going to read it? I'm buying it.
I'll read it.
Why do you sound disappointed?
I don't know. Is there a love story?
Harley's in it.
Okay, I'll read it.
Batman, the White Knight, is set to premiere or to release on October 4th, so you still have some time to add it to your pull list.
But it's right around the corner, so you better get on top of that.
And that wraps it up for our news this week. We're going to jump into our Patreon shoutouts, and then we've got 2 comic book highlights.
Our first Patreon shoutout goes out to Christian, whose Twitter handle is @Rocketman_131.
Christian retweeted my favorite solar eclipse video. It's a white pug puppy, and then it's replaced by a black pug puppy.
It was so cute.
Absolutely adorable. Definitely my favorite. Second favorite is that Sun and Moon one from Pokemon.
That one's pretty cool. Oh, I saw a great one. I didn't show it to you. It was the only eclipse that Mexicans care about. And it's a stove burner. You know, one of those where you actually see the fire?
Yes.
And then you see this tortilla come over it, and then they just throw it on the burner.
That's amazing.
I thought you would appreciate it.
Next Patreon shout out goes out to Christopher on Twitter @TheIrishOnFire.
Christopher recently won a Gamdius laser gaming mouse, which sounds important.
It's a military grade, is what I was watching on the packaging itself. So I know Christopher is always entering the giveaways on Twitter, and his most recent acquisition is that Gamdius laser gaming mouse. The packaging itself says military grade, so that shit is not going to break anytime soon. I remember the early laser mouses that were kind of shitty, like back in, when we were kids, like the very early
with the ball
ones.
in the bottom of
Those sucked
and you
so
had to
much.
take them out
like,
and
clean
it.
them all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And now they're making military grade ones, and Chris has one. So huge congrats to Chris.
And our final shout out goes out to Redmans.
The mysterious Redmans, the awesome Redmans. Thank you so much, our most recent Patreon backer. If you have a Twitter, Redmans, or you have something that you want to promote, some kind of profile or a store, whatever you may do outside of this, let us know, and we'll add it to our Patreon notes, and we'll make it a part of the shout-outs every single month. Thank you so much once again, Redmans, and to the rest of our Patreon backers, as we are now that much closer to goal number 3 on patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke.
If you too want to be a Patreon supporter and get your shout out, you can head over to that website Daniel just mentioned. For as little as $1 a month, that's 25 cents an episode, you can get your shout out.
And a huge thanks to decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier, which for this round, it is Justice League decals.
Cool. Is it your face?
Being
Aquaman?
It should be.
But of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do is reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you liked about the show, what you would like to see more of, interacting with us. The reason we do this show is for all of you.
And on to our comic book highlights for the week.
We're actually going to have 2 comic book reviews for you this week. The first one is Dark Knight's Metal #1 of 6. This is written by Scott Snyder with art by Greg Capullo, and the colors is FCO Placencia.
So this is the return of the rock stars that are FCO Placencia, Greg Capullo, Jonathan Glapion, and Scott Snyder on the, I would call it a summer event. Like, it kicks off in the summer, but this book won't end until early next year. They're releasing it once a month, and this is the first part of it, the lead up that came from The Forge and the casting. If you have not read The Forge or the casting, while I do recommend it, it is not essential reading to Metal. You will definitely get a deeper appreciation of this first issue if you have, especially if you've read the Batman series by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. But otherwise, you can, if you'd like, jump straight into Metal #1, where it is, fucking dinosaurs and mech bots and fucking craziness in the DC universe as led by the Batman.
What were your thoughts on this book?
It is the culmination and the return of the Batman that, started off with the New 52. This is the insecure and secure Batman that Scott Snyder built. This is the artwork that Greg Capullo put together that is rough around the edges, that reflects the Batman that is in the story, the one that fucking figures shit out all the time, that is cursing in the book. And it is, their character reformed in what is the New 52 Batman, and it continues in Dark Knight's Metal. And Batman was the best part of the New 52, the part that everyone enjoyed, one of the best-selling comics from that line, and it still is. That's how much of an influence it had. Even though Snyder's no longer on Batman, it's Tom King. It's continued that line and done an excellent job in maintaining, a quality story. Mm-hmm. But this is the team right back on it, This is the miniseries that if you've read since the beginning of the New 52, if you've read Batman, you are rewarded with, this is the tooth, that metal that Nightwing's tooth was knocked out from or whatever, when Batman fucking backhanded Nightwing after Nightwing was, giving him lip. That tooth is a specific metal that is mentioned here. That was back in 2011. Mm-hmm. This story has culminated throughout the years in what is coming up with Metal in this issue.
I agree that Batman is the best part of this book. He's definitely, like you said, what Snyder and Capullo built all those months, all those years ago. And I love seeing that Batman. But ultimately, I'm just going to be honest, I don't think this book is for me.
You didn't enjoy it, really?
I didn't. I still, we've had the lead ups to this point. We have this book, and it's still, I've said many times, I have a hard time with a lot of the supernatural in the DC universe, and that's a lot of what this is. This is all these things fit together for, we're opening other portals to other worlds, and there's ghosty men coming out, and there's all this stuff happening.
The dark multiverse, yeah.
And I have a difficult time with that. That's not my favorite part of the DC universe. So I can see why people will really enjoy this book, because it looks like a great detective story, and you have all the Justice League working together. But for me, I don't think it's for me.
It does build on Grant Morrison's multiverse from several years back, which we weren't fans of. We didn't like the build-up. And I know, for a lot of people that's important to them. That's lore in the DC universe for them. It is, Grant Morrison is in some ways writing, the Bible that is the multiverse. And they continue that here, where they literally have the map, the printout that, comic shops gave away years back of that multiverse. But they were like, there's a whole nother side to this, where there's corrupt versions of Batman existing, and they're coming through. And some of these names like Belial, and they're pretty much saying Batman's going to have to fight Satan. He is going to fucking beat Satan's ass.
Yeah, he's going to win.
And he's going to fucking win. It's going to be amazing. For that alone, I'm sign me up for these 6 issues. I fucking can't wait. There's also a huge reveal at the very end. Huge fucking reveal. Almost on the level of Dr. Manhattan. He's, this character, and several characters from this universe have shown up in the DC universe in the past, in the older comics, before the New 52. But the fact that now, since I don't think he's shown up in the New 52.
I don't even know who he is.
I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to cut it out in case people want to read it, because I don't want to spoil this reveal for them.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Now I appreciate the last page of this book very much, because I was like, who dis? Who dis, man? I don't care.
And according to Snyder, it's not just a one-off cameo. It's going to be a big part of the story.
Interesting. I'm still confused, and this book is still not for me, but that's cool.
There's a lot of setup. Absolutely. I don't think it's as confusing as the casting of the Forge.
No, those were very confusing.
But for what is this? $4.99 to watch Batman ride a goddamn dinosaur?
I mean, that was pretty cool, because she's like, we're going to capture you now, Batman. Oh, I don't want to spoil it.
Well, and they turn around and he's fucking riding a goddamn velociraptor.
Yeah.
A feathered velociraptor.
And telling him, be quiet. Don't tell anybody we're here.
Yes.
And it listens.
Yeah, the raptor's like, oh shit, all right. You're fucking Batman.
Let's go, Batman.
That's so fucking amazing. What an awesome comic. It is metal. It is super metal.
Wah! Like that kind of metal.
Something more on your side. And you know, I can agree with you on several levels that this was overall a better comic book. And that is on the Marvel side.
Mm-hmm. It's a Silver Surfer number 13. Silver Surfer number 13. Written by Dan Slott with colors by Michael Allred. And
Art by Michael Allred.
And the colors is Laura Allred. See, I can't even get through the names. I'm just so emotionally overwhelmed by this book.
The final issue would be number 14.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the second to last, and you look at the fucking cover, and this is the summary of these characters that we have known for, I think 2013 was when the series started, and it's had a sporadic release schedule in which we're like, I don't care. Like, just whenever it comes, we'll read it and we'll enjoy it. Of the Silver Surfer and Dawn Greenwood, of this beginning of what we never knew how it was going to end in the very first issue. It's a fucking love story. Like, this is a galactic love story that has spanned for many years in the comic book world that has undersold. It's a crime. Like, it's the biggest crime in the comic book world right now because it is one of the best. It is the best Marvel comic out there. And it is not selling anywhere near Amazing Spider-Man numbers. No one is picking it up. You know, I recommend it to people all the time. And I'm like, this is kind of like, you know, if you like Doctor Who, this is, you know, Dan Slott described it as Cosmic Who. But I don't watch Doctor Who and I'm reading it and I'm like, this is fucking... Who. You know, I read it and I'm like, I don't watch Doctor Who and I fucking love this comic so much. It is like I mentioned before, it's just the love story, the biggest love story in the galaxy. It is this man who, he's not immortal, but he's also not perfect. And this is Dawn Greenwood also growing along with Silver Surfer, and they've now reached this point of deeper understanding between the two characters. And I know they could have gone on for many more years. And, you know, they've listed several reasons as to why the comic book is ending, but it's now reached a point of quality that it's like, we will forever miss this comic book. You know, it's kind of like ending at the right exact moment where we'll always look at this as the best Marvel comic in, you know, the last 4 or 3 years. It's going to stand as probably the best Silver Surfer book out there.
I don't want to give too much of this away because I really encourage everyone to go out and pick it up and read it. I cried for at least 10 minutes after I finished this because it is a beautiful story of, like you said, it's a love story. It spans in just this brief book their whole life, essentially.
Basically, in spite of what we've gone through already.
And you follow them and you love with them and you get to the end and there are those last moments that I think were just so perfect and beautifully done, and I was sobbing by the end of this book.
It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly happy. It's true love in comic book pages. It is the Silver Surfer as you've never seen him before. There aren't many comics like this. I don't know if you were to say what's another book that's like Silver Surfer. I wouldn't even put Saga in that same breath. I wouldn't put, you know, my favorite Batman book of all time. Or anything. Like, there is nothing like the Silver Surfer series. It is absolutely amazing. It won the Breisner Award.
It did.
I think for 2 years, too. Yeah.
And it was well deserved.
Such a great fucking comic book. And, you know, it's coming to the end of its run. And it's finishing really, really strong. Like, if it would have ended in 13 here, it would have been phenomenal. Ugh. And we're getting one more issue.
I know.
Your dog just looked over at you like, what the fuck is wrong
with you, Mom?
They're funny books.
I'm fucking sleeping. It's just some pictures and some colors. I can't even see colors. If you guys haven't read Silver Surfer, I definitely recommend it. If you don't pick it up until the whole series wraps up, I'm sure they're going to put it in a big old supersized book. Pick it up. It is a great, great story. A great love story. So much emotion in these books. Like I said, I cried for 10 minutes because it just touched me that much.
So there's your comic book highlights for the week, Brokettes, and that wraps up the episode as well. Number 258 is now in the bag. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's show. We really appreciate, once again, forever grateful for you tuning in every week, whenever you can tune in, for your reviews on iTunes, for your support on Patreon, for your votes on the podcast awards, for just being there. That's what keeps us going. So thank you all so much for tuning in to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
Don't forget to reach us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Kelli. You can also head over to our website, thereasonsimbroke.com. We have a list of every single podcatcher where you can catch us on. We also have a great shop with some new t-shirts.
Absolutely. Definitely be sure to check those out. I'm Daniel.
I'm Kelli.
We'll see you next week. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Your mama done mess around and it was done. Didn't reach our shore. Your mama don't. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
My baby don't mess around because she loves me, and this I know for sure.
That's what I meant to say. All right.
But does she really love it? It's Hey Ya.
Yeah, I never knew the lyrics. I never liked the song. It doesn't.
You need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Your mama, show me how you do it. Go ahead. That's what you need to be singing.